Hey guys, it's History Behind the Warrior and welcome to another Mortal Kombat 11 video. Now yes, this is kind of different from what you typically see on my channel, but today I wanted to give you my honest thoughts and feelings on the Kombat Pack, because I was supposed to do this a few days ago and apparently everyone has made a video on it before me. Psychic bastards. But anyway, let's actually get to talking about the Kombat Pack and my personal thoughts and feelings on what exactly is going on with it here. Because I've been hearing a lot of people kind of split on what's going on with the Kombat Pack, so I thought that I would personally express my feelings of what I feel is going on here. Because if any of you watched my reaction, you guys somewhat know my mixed feelings on this one, but in order for me to really talk about what is exactly going on, I am going to be doing this character by character, and I will be going into a bit more detail about what exactly is going on with them and why do I think they kind of look that way. Because it's very clear here that some character models are a bit more polished than others right now. Now, I do have to say this because this is always the fun part of my job. Opinions ahead. Now, let's actually talk solely about the trailer itself. Now, honestly, despite the very short length of the trailer, I do think it was a really cool one at that. The shot composition, the angles, the lighting, the sound design, everything really polished, and it did seem really damn good. So there are absolutely no gripes there. One of my favourite parts about the Kombat Pack was Sindel's scream, because if you wore headphones you could hear how ambient it was. And again, it's just great little attention to detail there. That did really make that Kombat Pack trailer quite something. Plus, I do want to say that the end shot there that you can see right behind me, great shot of all the characters. I think they all look amazing, but I want to go into detail about each of them and what I think is kind of going on with them and how I feel about them. Alright, so first off, I do want to skip Nightwolf and Shang Tsung, despite saying I wanted to talk about everyone, I know. But the thing is, those characters are out right now. I kind of made my feelings obvious about them. I'm really happy with their inclusion, so I'm just going to leave it at that and not kind of waste your time, because I want to talk about the 4 remaining characters. And honestly, I think this is the most important part of the Kombat Pack, because they're not released right now. Now, first off, let's talk about my beautiful girl, Sindel. I must say, she does look superb here. Now, of course, as I briefly had mentioned, not only do we have the amazing upfront shot of her, but we do hear the resonating scream that really does solidify who her character is and what she is all about. So overall, this was a great way to kind of introduce the character into the Kombat Pack. One thing I really hope they do is actually use the scream we heard in the trailer in-game, because it sounded really good. And of course, it has somewhat left me to wonder whether or not the scream is going to function a lot like the MK9 scream and what we kind of had in MKX, or will it function more like Black Canaries from Injustice 2? That's a little bit of food for thought, but that's just kind of me theorizing and speculating on what we could see. Now let's talk about Sindel's overall design, and I must say I really do like it. Her arm designs are fantastic, but I absolutely adore what's going on with the chest piece here. The way her belt somewhat corsets into her waist and then somewhat complements the breastplate that slowly goes up into the shoulder piece that also becomes a neck guard is a really cool touch and idea. Honestly, the entire torso design looks absolutely superb. I kind of do wish some of the ideas here were kind of implemented over into Jade and Katana's costumes, but you know what, those are kind of great in their own right. So it kind of does help Sindel seem quite unique in comparison to the rest of the female costume. Plus, I gotta say, having metal shoulder guards that go into a neck guard is super metal. Now, outside of the costume design, which I think looks absolutely superb, I like what they're currently doing with her hair, and I must say her face model, just from the trailer alone, looks really beautiful. So I am intrigued to see what it actually looks like in game, because there are some angles and some female characters that kind of make them look a little bit weird at times. But that's everything I wanted to say about Sindel for now. I must say I am actually very excited for her. I'm interested to see how she plays and how she functions, and I do want to take a look at some of the gear she does have in her toolset, because as I have mentioned, I am a fan of her overall design. I wonder what her human counterpart is actually going to look like too. Now, from one Revenant to another, let's talk about a character that I think a lot of us are anticipating: Spawn. Now, I really dig Spawn's overall design, even from the very brief appearance he did have in the trailer. We only get a clear proper shot of him by the end of the trailer, so again, in the group photo that's behind me. Now, there is something I want to talk about, because I have heard a lot of people talk about this, because I don't feel like they actually are quite familiar with the character, so allow me to drop some comic book nerd knowledge on you. Many people have been talking about the way that Spawn's skin actually looks, and the fact that it looks kind of like weird shiny leather. Allow me to explain, it's not exactly skin. So for those of you who don't really know who Spawn is, originally Spawn is a man by the name of Al Simmons who was sent to hell. Upon going to hell, he made a deal with the devil, wanting a second chance at life in exchange for his soul being part of the devil's army. Now, wanting to see his wife again, Al decided to take the deal. But in order to guarantee that he would come back and somewhat still be a slave of the devil, he would be bonded with something known as the Spawn symbiote. And the Spawn symbiote somewhat functions very similar to that of Venom's from the Marvel Universe. Fun fact, Todd McFarlane designed both Venom and Spawn, hence the somewhat resemblance the two characters do share. Now, that's actually the main reason as to why his skin looks the way it does. It's not actually skin. It's a necroplasmic, weird, symbiotic suit. That's a really weird thing to say, but that's why it looks the way it does. If anything, it shares more in common with leather and latex than it actually resembles human skin. So that's why it kind of looks as weird and plasticky as it does. It's not supposed to resemble human skin. And to somewhat solidify my point that there's just a skeleton beneath all of that like weird crazy muscle leather, is the fact that if you look at his face, you can see that there is no nose and you can somewhat see teeth, so it is just a skull underneath the mask. So hopefully that clears up some of you guys who have been wondering what exactly is going on with Spawn's appearance here, because honestly, if I didn't know that, I'd be kind of freaking out about what's going on with his face and his skin, because it does look quite strange. Now overall, I really dig Spawn's design in the Kombat Pack. It seems like it's definitely going to stick to its like 90s counterparts, with the massive gauntlets and knee pads, along with the crimson red cape, which is actually a really nice color that complements the black and the white. So overall, I really do like Spawn's design in this game. I'm just intrigued to see what his other costumes are going to be like, because since his default costume is clearly inspired by his 90s look, I was wondering if they'd have more of a modern update, because in the current comic book run of Spawn, he actually has a mouth. Now let's talk about a character that I'm pretty sure all of us have somewhat mixed feelings on, and one character that I wasn't entirely too taken back with in the Kombat Pack trailer. That is of course the inclusion of the Joker. Now contrary to many people's belief, I don't hate this character. I think personally for me as an individual, I'm kind of fatigued of seeing the Joker in a lot of forms of different media. He's been in games, he's been in movies, he's been in t-shirt, he's kind of been everywhere. So because of the oversaturation of the character, I'm just not that interested in what he's about anymore. Plus, I'm someone who indulges in comic book media a lot in my free time. So knowing that he's coming from all the way over there into this game when I can't get away from him, I'm just kind of like, oh, he's everywhere now. Which isn't necessarily a bad thing depending on which side of the coin you're on. Because this is just me speaking for myself here. I can't necessarily speak for you guys watching, because some of you actually really like his inclusion. And if that is so the case, then all the more power to you. I hope you enjoy playing him. I just know personally that he's just not for me. Now, I do want to talk about his overall design, because there's a lot of drama going on with the Joker right now. So I want to talk about his overall design and all of the controversy that's been flying around him. Now, first off, let's talk about the face, because MK11 has some great face models, but the Joker's looks really unpolished and very strange. Honestly, it does look like something from MKX, so it is out of place with the realistic faces we do have in this game. Again, I will elaborate on why I think that's the reason in a bit. But now let's talk about everything else, including his design. And honestly, I kind of like his suit. It's a good old classic homage to his older design, so it can be seen as a somewhat Easter egg. However, my one massive gripe with his overall design is the fact that he's holding a cane. I don't want no pimp daddy Joker in my game. If we're gonna put in a hyper violent version of the Joker in Mortal Kombat, it honestly seems like it would have been a far better choice if he was holding a crowbar, as I feel that's far more synonymous with the character than a cane. Now again, for those of you who are a little bit unfamiliar, the crowbar actually ties all the way back to a very old Batman comic, that being Death in the Family. It's a Batman story arc where Joker is successful in killing one of Batman's Robins, that of course being Jason Todd, who would later become the Red Hood. Either way, it's kind of an iconic part of the Batman comic book legacy, and because of that story arc, I feel like the character is far more tied to that of a crowbar than a pimp daddy cane. Now yes, I understand that's most likely me kind of nitpicking, but this is coming from someone who's not a Joker fan. I think the crowbar serves a much better purpose than a cane does in this game. Now let's get onto the face, as I did say I wanted to talk about that. Now the face is in a really weird place. As I said, it does look unpolished. The design looks kind of weird, but here's the thing, his overall face design doesn't bother me that much. What does bother me, and again it's my inner comic book nerd kind of coming out, if we're going for a hard R Joker, why not really kind of push the limits of what you can do with this character. I honestly want them to use the Joker design they used in Death of the Family. The reason why I'm saying that, again for those of you who aren't too familiar with comics, this was the comic book run where the Joker carved off his face and stapled it back on as a mask. Like, that design is haunting and it's great. Honestly, again, if we're pushing for like hard R, I feel like this is a way better design than this. Again, we're gonna have to see with what's going on with like gear and face designs, but I really feel like this could really work in game. Again, for the most part, this is somewhat nitpicks on my half, but if we're gonna have the Joker in game, I at least want him to look like the most menacing he's ever been. But now let's talk about the controversy, and everyone's kind of talked about this a bit, and that is the fact that apparently the Joker has replaced Ash Williams as DLC for the game, which may also explain as to why the Kombat Pack has been pushed back so incredibly far, and why the Joker looks so underdeveloped in comparison to the other character models in game, with Spawn, who goes out like 2 months later than him, looking far more polished in comparison. Now of course, in the Shang Tsung reveal trailer we did have the tease of the chainsaw at the end, that strongly hinted that the character would be making the cut. So with Joker seemingly popping up instead of Ash, it kind of upset many fans for what they had predicted. But I think what really does kind of rub salt in the wound and somewhat expose the issue to everyone is the fact that apparently a few days ago, after the Kombat Pack was revealed, people got messages about the Kombat Pack and the people who were included in it, with Ash Williams apparently being written on it. So many people are freaking out about that, and understandably many are rather upset. Now honestly, we don't really know what's going on behind the scenes with what was going on with Ash and what was going on with the Joker, but what I can somewhat presume is what happened is that studios are given characters and they have to use them within a specific time frame. So instead of having the licensing renewed to use that character, it must have been declined in one way, shape and form. So I'm guessing that's the main reason as to why Ash didn't make the cut, because something must have happened like that behind closed doors, and WB must have been stopped in their steps for Ash actually making the cut, which honestly is a shame if that is the case, because he may have actually been a character at one point and now he's just not going to be a thing. Again, we just don't know right now, and we need to wait for more information to come out. But when everyone saw this message, we kind of knew that something wasn't quite right. But yeah, that's basically everything I did want to touch on in this whole Joker section. I know it's taken quite a while. There's a lot I needed to talk about here. Let's talk about a character that I'm actually pretty happy that made the cut. That is of course the inclusion of the Terminator T800 unit. Now, yes, some of you might think I'm genuinely crazy being excited for a Terminator unit instead of the Joker, but I will tell you the story as to why I feel that way. Now, I was born during the 90s era of cinema, so at this point in time we still had the crazy big macho man superhero kind of movies that were really popular still around that time. Now, despite like the crazy amount of movies that were like that in that time frame, there was only one actor that always kind of stuck with me. That, of course, being Arnie. Now, I've watched a ton of Arnie films over the years, and a lot of his films are actually some of my personal favorite films, but there's one film in particular that resonated with me as a child that I don't feel like any film could have matched, and that was none other than Terminator 2. Now Terminator 2 for me personally is up there with my favorite films of all time. I love basically everything about it, and it was a film I frequently indulged in a lot when I was growing up. So Terminator 2 as a film is very special to me as a person. Yes, I'm being rather selfish here, but the inclusion of the T800 to me is kind of a special thing. Anyway, enough of my stupid childhood nostalgia. What do I think of his overall design? Now, despite his overall costume design seeming pretty damn plain, it's honestly the headpiece for me that does it. Of course, we get old man Arnie and he does look great, but my favorite part of his design, it's one of my overall favorite things within the Terminator series, is when some of the skin has kind of been taken off the face and you can see the cybernetics beneath it. So overall, I really do like his design. Is it quite plain? Definitely. It's nowhere near as complex as, I don't know, Spawn's over there, but it's just one that speaks to me on a very personal level. But yeah, that's basically everyone I did want to talk about in the Kombat Pack, guys. Now obviously, if I had my say, I probably would shift around some characters, but again, that's just my own personal choice. Overall, the Kombat Pack is okay, but there are definitely some flaws with it, because there's clearly been issues with the Kombat Pack that weren't in their control. So I do want to see if we learn more about it in the future. But yeah guys, that's basically everything I did want to say for now. So what are your thoughts on the Kombat Pack? Are you satisfied with anyone in particular? And what do you think is exactly going on with this Joker and Ash Williams controversy? Do you think there's some actual weight to it, or do you think it's just crazy speculation? Please do comment down below, as I do want to get a conversation going about what exactly is happening here. But yeah guys, that wraps up up everything for here. So before this video finishes up, if possible, let's try getting it to about 500 likes. It honestly is a great way of supporting this channel. And also don't forget to tick that bell, as it will notify you when I do upload a video. But yeah guys, that's everything for now. So as always, please comment, like, subscribe, and share this video with everyone you know. Please take care, and I will see you all next time.